there. What's that? Nobody wants to go there.
Lonely over here.
Long day so far.
I hear you.
5 o'clock. All right, it's 5 o'clock, ready to start our study session. Summer, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here. Sorry.
Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr?
Here.
And Mayor Mason.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Item number 2, at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session agenda. Do I have anything they want to talk about? Nope. All right. 3.1, update from Main Street Enid on Enid Light Up the Plains and other holiday events. Now,
Hello. So I am Natalie Rapp, the director of Main Street Enid. I know most of you all here. Thank you for having me today to kind of speak about the upcoming events that we have going on, Enid Lights Up the Plains and the ice rink. So as you all know, this is our 31st year of Enid Lights Up the Plains. We are very excited that we have been able to do it for so many years. Of course, it'll be from 5 to 9, our regular events such as the OG&E Tree of Lights, which we added last year. We've always had the Tree of Lights, but we upgraded it last year to do a light show. We have a couple more trees, smaller trees, that we've added that are going to have lights, and also a few panels. Ryan Sudlow from Sudlow Engineering has donated his time and his resources to doing this, so it'll give us a little extra something fun to do through the holiday season. They can go look at the one tree and then come downtown at the courthouse lawn and also look at that. I also know that Brett Clemmy is doing his Bad Express again, giving rides around the square. And then we'll have Santa, vendors, food trucks, all of that fun stuff, and then the Park Avenue Thrift Grand firework finale. So that is kind of our lineup, as well as live music, and then the parade that we have that's been expanded, and lots of people are excited to be a part of now. This is, I know it's very small, but hopefully you can see it on your iPads. This is just the map, so you all are aware of what we're doing. We have met with the City of Enid, the Fire Department, and the Police Department. This is pretty much the same as it has been the last couple of years. Last year, we changed the parade route for the lineup to be over by Leonardo's, which worked really, really well. So we were able to open up more of Grand for people to park and get downtown. And it kind of got the parade floats out of the way and a place for them to park as well afterwards. So worked really well for us, and I think we're going to continue doing that as long as we can. Got approval from the city and the fire department and police department on that. So that is our map. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. And then, let's see if I can, my little clicker's not working. Oh, there we go, maybe. Thank you. Okay, on to the ice rink. We are opening, usually we open this week. We have decided to open on Enid Lights Up the Plains this year, and we're going through January 4th. This is our 5th season, so we're trying to do a few more things to get people down there to skate. We're doing really well, but we do ask, you know, as this is the 5th year and the price of everything keeps going up and the cost to run this gets larger and larger each year, please support us in bringing your friends and your family and all that down. This is a wonderful opportunity, but so we can continue providing it every year. We just ask that everybody supports as much as you can. We are doing a few other things, such as, sorry, my clicker is not working. There we go. So this is our little map. It's pretty much the same as always, where our ice rink's going to be, our sheds. The Bad Express is going to be parked out there most nights and giving rides. I think he's also going to work on stopping at certain places, like some of the breweries and some of the shops as well, to get people into those businesses this year. We also have the Santa sheds that's going to be out there. Santa's going to be roaming around as well. So that is our map. And then this year we are adding fundraisers. We are going, if you're a school, church, if you're an organization, nonprofit organization, you can book a time, and if people come and mention your name, they can earn $5 of every ticket as well. So this will be Monday through Thursday. You can book that. Monday and Tuesdays we are going to be closed this year because those are our very slow days. We've noticed over the last 5 years, we've kind of cut down on our hours so we can have more of the busy days, Wednesday through Sundays, we will be open. So fundraisers, we also have group discounts. We are also looking for lots of volunteers to kind of cut back on just employee cost as well, and sponsorship opportunities. And then we've added quite a few fun nights as well. Like I said, our 5th year, we're wanting this to be fun. We have a snowflake showdown that we are working with for our kids, where clients can be paired up with people who want to do kind of like minute-to-win-it games. So that should be fun. We have a gingerbread game night where kids will be able to come out and make their gingerbreads. We have a silent disco, which will be a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have done that before, but everybody gets their own little earphones. They get to skate on the ice, and they get to listen to their own music while they're on the ice skating, and they get to pick kind of what they want to listen to from different channels. We also are playing Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, movie on the ice. We got the movie rights and all of that for that, so that should be a lot of fun. We are also planning a New Year's Eve event to kind of kick off that, and then we're doing a Taylor Swift skate night because everybody loves Taylor Swift. So we have a lot going on there for our 5th year. So we are just very grateful and thankful for the city's support of allowing us to do this for 5 years. If it wasn't for them, we would definitely not be able to pull this off. So is there any questions that I can answer as far as Enid Lights Up the Plains or the ice rink goes?
I have an idea for a fundraiser.
Sure.
A dunk tank with the mayor, Colonel Throckmorton. Bringing a lot of
Well, we did get the mayor in April 1st Friday. He was a good sport about that. So we don't know. It might be a little cold, though, in December.
You know, I would be interested in a skate-off.
There you go. We could do some games on the ice for sure.
Yeah. So,
Any other comments?
Natalie,
Yes.
thank you all so much for what you do. I know it takes a lot of hard work, and we all really need to turn out for that. If we want things to happen in Enid, we actually have to show up, don't we?
Yes, but we appreciate any and all support, so thank you all. And I will say also, the City of Enid employees are always wonderful to work with. I just have to text them or call them, and they come and hook up the electricity or come move things for us, so we really do appreciate all that.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 3.2, update from Nicole Winfield on the One Tree event.
Hi guys, how are you? I'm Nicole Winfield. I'm the project coordinator for the One. And we have our opening night, December 1st. As you guys see, the tree's already up, the lights are on. We are now working on putting the street trees. We call them street trees, but they'll go right outside the street. We're working on putting the street trees out and the archway trees, and I believe they're working on getting the stage set up. And we have a new stage this year, and we have a new layout for opening night. We've always been really extravagant about this stage for opening night, but this year we've gone a little bit smaller to kind of put the money spent on stage toward marketing and bringing people up from Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Wichita and from all over. So we really wanted to focus on getting people here, and either way, it's a great, incredible event. Last year, we did it on a different night. We did it on Sunday from Enid Lights Up the Plains, and we still had an incredible turnout. We had about 30,000 people, 30,000-ish people. That's kind of sometimes hard to get those numbers, but that's what we came up with that came. So this year, we are hoping for 40,000 plus due to the marketing that we've been doing. But as you see, the stage is no longer in the middle of Independence. It is now against the tree. And as I said, it is a smaller stage, so it's about 16 by 24. This year, we have food trucks on site at 4 o'clock, and then we are doing something new, a pre-show for the ceremony, and that is where it's very family-friendly. It's going to be really fun. Fun carols for the kids. We're going to have Olaf there and get people engaged the first 30 minutes, get them excited, get them pumped up, and then we will have our ceremony, which we've shortened to about 28 minutes. So it won't be as long, and our light show at the end is going to be absolutely incredible. If you guys have ever seen the Busch Gardens light show in Florida, it'll be similar to that, and that's a pretty extreme light show. So there will be a light show that'll play for about 6 minutes, and then right after that, there is a 30-minute light show. And you don't want to miss those. Those are going to be incredible. We're going to test that out, of course, try in the middle of the night and see if it works, see how everything plays. So if you're ever down there and you see the tree playing, or you hear, that was the other thing we talked about today. We are doing, I probably should let you know about this, Natalie. We are doing a run-through at 5 or 6 o'clock on Saturday. So if you're down at the ice rink or you're downtown for any reason and you hear what sounds like the opening night happening, it's really not opening night, it's just a run-through. So, but we have to test everything, especially with the amount of people that are coming. So we want to make sure everything is right. We also have 3 big events going on during the one time, which is December 1st through January 5th. On December 7th, we have the Christmas Cruise, and that is from 11 to 1, and that's where we invite cars to come and ride around the square, and then they park on Park Avenue in front of the tree for their photo, and then they park along Independence. This year, there is a Best in Show for cars and Best in Show for trucks. The first year that we did Christmas Cruise, we got 85 people from all over Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa. It was pretty extensive, and we had great feedback. So we didn't do it last year, but that was because we didn't have as many people on board for volunteering, but we do this year. So we're going to try it again, and fingers are crossed. So if you have a car, please sign up and come and join us. That'll be fun. And then on December 14th, we have Christmas Critters from 4 to 6, and that is where we have reindeer down there. We have Santa, food truck. We have all sorts going on, lots and lots going on down there on that evening. And then on December 21st, we have Storybook Night, and that is where we have a reader on stage, and a character from that book will be acting out on stage behind the reader, and then we will also have characters walking around and acting things out, and food truck and some other fun stuff going on at that time. So we also, as always, have community events happening. We have church services, people with magic shows, and choirs, community choirs from schools and churches, and all sorts of things happening on the stage. And we have a full schedule of that on our website, and we'll be updating people on our Facebook page. So as to what's going on all the time, or if anything happens with the tree, we stay up to date the most on that. So I think that's it. Is there any questions anybody has? Okay. Well, thank you guys for your support. And like Natalie said, working with the city is absolutely incredible. If we need anything, we just give them a call and they come down, and we greatly, greatly appreciate that. So I just want to thank you guys for that.
Nicole, I know that we have access to the Placer AI software, and we've been tracking that.
Okay.
There are people coming from all over the state, aren't they?
Oh, for sure.
this?
From all over the country.
Yeah.
From what we understand.
I mean, it's
So-
much broader than what we think.
Yes, it is. Usually we go around and we ask people where they're from, or they'll tell us where they're from throughout the whole event, and it's incredible where they come from. They'll, coming from Colorado or, Pennsylvania, I've heard. So they're from all over the place, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what we want to keep doing. So we've started marketing with some stations in Oklahoma City, so hopefully that'll broaden things a little bit as well. And we've gotten into some magazines that are across the state. So a little bit at a time. This is our 4th year, so we're working on it. It's a process. So, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for what
Thank
you're
you so
doing.
much.
It brings a lot of people in.
The question, does
Yeah.
it track that AI app that you all are using? Does it track, like, if they go to restaurants or hotels or gas stations or anything like that, any retail or?
I'm not sure. We actually work with Stride to find the numbers that we do.
It does, and I think it'll be easy for you to remember the name, because I think I'm getting the name right, Nicole Forbes.
Yes.
You talked to Nicole down there.
Yeah,
I think they did this-
Tim usually, but I think it is from Nicole. Yeah, it comes
Yes,
from
and so it'd
her.
be great to do that. And my understanding is the reports we've seen, it shows, you can make it show a lot of stuff, but I think it shows the top 10 areas they went afterwards.
Okay.
And so
Oh, I
that's
didn't know that.
enlightening, and it gives us kind of a head count, or not kind of, it gives us a head count.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I need to look at that a little bit
I
deeper
bet they can
then.
do it
So,
by day or over the whole period, so I'm gonna, when I see Jeff again, I'm gonna see if he can't get Nicole hooked up with you, but
Yeah.
feel free to talk to her, talk to Tim, get to her.
For sure.
She's the one that does it.
Well, and Nicole, you might also remember that we've got all that data from last year. And if any of our retailers or our restaurants want to see that,
Okay.
they can either contact the Stride Center, or they can contact ERDA, Marcy Mack out there. They've got all that data.
Awesome.
You know, our thought is, if we know X amount of people are coming from the Woodward area, if I was a merchant in town, or if I was a restaurant owner, I would be doing Facebook ads
oh, yeah.
over Woodward for the next couple weeks, you know, a 2-for-1 or whatever they want to do. But that is
Yeah.
data that's just laying out there, and chances are those same folks will come back again.
Yeah,
So,
and the way that we market it too is as a whole. So I don't know if you've seen anything that we've done, but even the commercials that we have coming out in Oklahoma City, they include the ice rink and the bat train, because I mean, you guys have been down there. It is a whole experience. You get down there and I stand at the top of the hill and I'm like, this is like a Hallmark movie. It feels so good, and you've got that Christmas nostalgia, and it's amazing. So, you know, the glow of the ice rink, and then the bat train riding around, and whatever music we have playing by the tree, or whatever music the ice rink has, it's an entire experience that we want people to come down and experience. And some of them are like, this isn't Enid. Like, we had no idea this was here. So,
and you mentioned the Hallmark movie. You know, the night of the event, all the drones are going to be filming for a movie that they're making downtown.
yes.
So-
For the movie, be careful there. We've had a lot of drone questions for the drone show. So
Yeah,
for the movie, the drones will be down there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there'll be a lot of filming going on down
Yes,
there. And then they'll pick that back up right afterwards, right? They'll be in
Yep.
town filming for that movie.
They will, yes, for the month they'll be down there, and there'll be sometimes they'll have to do it in the middle of the night, but they'll be down there filming certain spots and things, and especially with all the events that are happening, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of stuff going on.
I know, it's awesome. So,
Good.
thank you guys.
You bet. Any other questions, comments? All right, very good.
Thank you.
Great,
Good
thank you
stuff.
guys.
Thank you, thank you. All right, something just as exciting, discuss increase in solid waste rates. 3.3, Mr. Hunter, or Scott, I guess, okay? Can you follow that?
Well, I'll try. Mayor, Commissioners, bringing back to you a proposal. So we've talked about this a few times, the idea of raising polycart rates, solid waste rates. They haven't changed since 2012, so the consideration was to raise the monthly by $2 a month, and then we had talked about last time a mechanism starting in 2026 to how do we capture some type of increase so we don't get caught going another 12 years before an increase. And so tonight's proposal is right here before you. It is about 3%, but what I did to try to make it look a little cleaner and a little nicer, instead of, you know, from $16 to maybe $16.48, I just tried to round off as many of those numbers as I could. It's right near 3%, and since the idea would be to stop it at a certain point, and then after 2030, it doesn't have to follow a percentage, so this is very close to 3%, but this is the proposal before you for your consideration, and it will be on the agenda later on tonight as an ordinance to vote on. we've looked at this chart before, but if there's questions about where we need to be or where we are now, that kind of helps explain, so. Back to the chart there. Are there any questions I can try to answer?
So Scott, refresh my memory, is this $2 increase that we're getting ready to add on first, is it going to cover the cost that we're actually incurring out at the landfill with equipment and manpower? And
That's a great question. There is an extra report that we can provide, but $2 basically gives us about $480,000 in additional fees. We are looking at some landfill permit. We're permitting a new area of the landfill, and when we rebuild our next cell, it'll be millions of dollars. And so these increases will help cover the cost of that. Some of that equipment out there that you've seen recently, some of the wood chipper is about $1 million piece of machinery. Just a few months ago, we had a trash truck repair that was $100,000. And so they're big pieces of machinery, and this is going to help.
Mayor, is this the one with just
so when we
5 years?
changed things this year regarding the extra polycart, did that help with our financial situation out there? Are we breaking even? I guess that's what I'm asking. Are we?
I'd have to look at that report that Aaron has. We have,
I would say based on the capital improvements that have to happen at the landfill over time, that we are not breaking even. The 16 will get us closer to breaking even, but then those costs continue to go up, and so we can't keep it at 16 and keep breaking even.
Okay, but do we have to have the annual increases, or can we look at this again in a couple of years?
What we talked about last time was that we'd run out 5 years and then stop the increase, and then let whatever commission was up here then reevaluate whether or not they've got enough dollars or not.
But instead of the annual increases, can we just reevaluate it again in 2 years and tack on another $1 or $2 if we need to?
No,
That's my
that's not what they're proposing. They're proposing,
I'm asking a question. I understand the proposal. I just want to know if it was possible to not have the annual increases. I got contacted by a couple folks in my ward who are on fixed income, and I'm sure this is going to affect everybody who's on fixed income. And so I was just wondering, can we just look at it again in 2 years instead of having the annual increases start in 2026? That was my question.
My understanding, we will not have enough money to cover the infrastructure needs if we don't do the annual increase in the next 5 years.
Let me just say, this is a proposal, and this is based on what we've talked about for a couple times. Could we do what you're saying? Yes. Is that what we want to do? I don't know. That's up to you guys in this body. But I think to answer your question directly, yes, that is possible. Are you proposing that the rates go up to 16 for 2 years, and then we look at it again in 2 years, or?
Yes, I mean, 16 is fine. I understand we need to recover some of those costs, but then I'm wondering, why can't we just look at this again in 2 years and add $1 to it up to 17 instead of adding to it in 2026? Instead of the incremental increases, why don't we just look at it again in 2 years and see where we're sitting, and then if reevaluate it at that point instead of just adding an 3% increase across the board for the next 5 years? That's my question.
I think what they discussed last time was, that was kind of the idea years ago, and then it ended up being 12 years, 10 years?
12.
Without an increase, so we're kind of behind the curveball now. And if you look at it, in 5 years, from 2025 to 2030, it's going to go from 16 to 1850, so it's going to be a $2.50 increase in the end anyway. Well, that's the polycart fee, so that's right.
And really, another thing you can look at on your iPads, on this chart on your iPads, you should be able to hover over any of those bars, and it will tell you exactly what that community's paying. Even right now, we would be at $18.50 in the year 2030, and almost every single one of these is already at $18.50 right now. The price of their service is going to go up from now until 2030. there are people in their communities also want a fixed income. It just costs money to operate, and that's what we thought that would be a good proposal.
And we did also talk about possibly like a valuation freeze that they do on property taxes for older people. And if we work with the county, they will already have done the homework on that. They'll know who qualifies for that based on age and income and where they live, the property owner themselves. So that's another option that we can do later on if the people on the fixed income need to get a break from that.
What's the rate that would put us, to where we need to be as far as the rates right now? What's that number?
I did not calculate an average of all of these, but what you have before you is very, very conservative. I mean, we could easily go up to $18.50 or even $20 tomorrow and be on par with what most people are doing. But that's not what we're proposing. We're thinking we want to go slow. We want to take our time, and so that's why we've proposed what we have.
But this would absolutely end in 5 years without further approval from the next council. Is that right?
Right. The ordinance that you should have a copy of and should be attached to this agenda, and definitely in the next meeting, shows through December 31st of 2030. Starting in 2031, nothing changes.
I would mention again that one of the things that you could do is you could charge the people that use more than one polycart, which is me. As it is, if you use, there's not much incentive to recycle if the second polycart is only $5.50. So you could, and it does go up a little bit, but one of the things is I'm assuming most of the people that have additional polycarts are getting a lot of stuff, and they're not low income. So you could stick it to the additional polycart people. I'm just saying.
Do we know what percentage of the revenue that's generated is generated from additional polycarts? Would it make a difference to raise that one more?
I don't think it'd make a significant difference. We don't have those numbers. We could get those numbers. I will tell you, we do charge for additional each. The $16 is for base service of pick up one time a week with one polycart. Each additional polycart is $5.50 a month. And then that would potentially go up on this rate schedule for 5 years by approximately 3%. And Carol's saying we could make that significantly higher if we wanted to. I don't know if, do you have any idea? We haven't looked at that specifically, so.
I think it's less than 10% of the revenue for the line.
Okay, well, it was just an idea.
I liked it, but if it's not going to make that much of a difference.
This shows some movement, and it's still very conservative in my opinion. Still at $18.50, 6 years out. That's very conservative.
You know, at the end of the day, this is an effort we need to increase revenue. No question about it. We can talk about that. But it's not just, when you have a chance to look at these numbers, you'll see these numbers are through 2023 for solid waste. You'll see how we're about breaking even in 2023. And just for reference, we're showing some other pieces of the budget that ultimately get funded from EMA. The general fund cannot pay for itself with sales taxes, so EMA augments the general fund, and the general fund pays for everything to it. Well, not everything, but a lot of stuff to include police and fire. So really you have before you tonight in the regular session an opportunity to approve something if you want to do that, and I think we're certainly open to it. I know we've come up with the proposal today from the previous 2 study sessions that we had, but that is just, that's for you guys to consider, and if we can find something else that you're...
Do you guys have the data on how many polycarts are out there and how many people have 2?
David, do you have some of that information?
I don't have it, but we actually presented it at the commission meeting when we actually did the great change in green cards, if I remember correctly. It's approximately 17,000 total carts, and then the green carts that we have across the city, it's about 2,000, some of which of those have multiple, but it's a percentage there.
So we've got about 17,000, you said 2,000 green carts?
I believe so, but I'm not exactly.
But that's different than the
Right.
extra cart.
Right, how many additional carts do we have that we charge $5.50 for, do you guys?
Oh, when we did the green card presentation, I did not. I have that information, but I don't have it
Yeah,
up
okay.
here.
Yeah, yeah, if you guys could get that, I'd be interested.
I can get it free. I could probably get
Sure,
it tomorrow.
One of the things that setting it out like that is it allows people to not be surprised and stuff. And it also, waiting another 12 years, you know, then at some point, we are going to have to jack up the price a lot. And then that's really going to be upsetting. At least this is very small each year of an increase.
Well, and as the commission discusses that and we help provide that information, I think it's important to note, without any other information, I can't think of a single thing that has stayed the same price-wise that it was 12 years ago. So that alone should be convincing to you guys that we need to do something. But whatever is palatable to the commission as a whole is fine with us.
Yeah, I agree, we have to raise the prices. I was just wondering if there were any other solutions to maybe go after that second polycart that we only charge $5.50 for. I mean, granted, we're gonna go from 14 to 16 on the first one, and then if we can go after, maybe we can raise the price of that second polycart a few dollars and help offset it so we don't have to have the annual increases every year. I was just wondering if that was a possibility.
It's a possibility. It's just, we're not going to be able to provide the data for that tonight. But
Even if you raise the price of the second polycart from $5.50, let's just say we raise it to $8, half the price, let's make it half the price of the proposed $16. That'll bring in $2.50 more for each additional polycart. And like Carol had a good point, those are the folks that are probably producing more trash and are going to have an easier time affording it. I just, you know, for the folks who are low income and on fixed income, I'm not a big fan of annual raises. I'd rather look at other possibilities. Maybe that's the only way to do it, but I didn't know what other avenues have been explored.
So why did we not raise it over 12 years?
I can speak for the time that I've been the city manager. Nobody likes pay increases, and that's the reason. Because of the discussion, we've talked about it twice publicly, and to move this along, we wanted to talk about it again, but we wanted to put an ordinance in front of you because that's when it gets real for everybody, is that we need to make a change. And so that's why during my tenure, we haven't brought it before, but we need to bring it now because everything we do costs a lot.
And I understand that. My point is, if we don't put an automatic increase for the next 5 years, it'll be another 12 years because nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit here and do that. This is a good way to do it. It only raises it $2.50 over the next 5 or 6 years. Then we put a stopgap on it and we say, let them decide. It may not be enough at $18.50. I'm guessing it won't be. Just at the rate that we're going on our increases on everything. Are those fire trucks the same price they used to be? Not even close. Yeah, so I think we have to be good stewards in making sure we don't raise the fees so much that it harms anybody, but we also have to be good stewards in that we pay the bills and we can accommodate them that service that they want, right? So, you know, I heard you say, Scott, that you had 2 people call you. I got 1 email. That's out of 53,000 people. So, at the end of the day, I think they probably understand, since we haven't raised it in 12 years, we probably need to do that. And I'm like everybody else. A year from now, I don't want to have to come back and raise it again. I want to tap in automatically. And I think that's very, very fair on that. They come right to your door and do that, or to your curb, carry it off, and then set the thing back down for you.
And all I was saying is at the end of the day, I'm okay with this $2 increase for 2025. All I'm saying is there might be some other avenues to look for some additional revenue to pick up on those additional poly carts.
And I'm perfectly good on the additional cart.
That we only charge $5.50 for. We could raise that a couple dollars, and we're still at 50, up to 8 probably, and we're still only half price of the first poly cart, which makes sense. It's just another avenue to look at income. That's all.
It does not fix the issue that no elected official wants to raise taxes, ever. And we'll be back in that same vicious circle of coming back 12 years from now going, hey, I hate to do this, but.
How are our drivers able to keep track of that when they come up to a resident that has 1 versus 2 or 3? Is there a button or something that they push on the truck or?
They see a blue cart, they pick it up.
Yeah, they do have technology, but for the most part, David, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we actually have someone back at the office who coordinates with the driver, so if there's something the driver sees that's weird, almost 100% of the time, they will call back to the office and they'll say, hey, I see this over here. What is the situation at this address? She'll get into our asset management software and say, yes, they're supposed to have 2, or no, they're not supposed to have 2. And so we see it back at the office centrally located to manage it that way. But as Scott said, if they see the blue carts there, they assume that it's there because it's supposed to be, and they pick it up. Yeah.
So if there's 2 there 1 week and then a week later there's only 1,
right?
Charge is pretty much the same for the
whole charge
month.
is the same even if 0 are out. The difference would be with the green cart as an extra. That's $4 that has to be scheduled. Everything else is the green cart is scheduled $4 per pickup.
Oh, okay.
But if you have 1 blue cart, you're going to pay the $14 or $15 per month, regardless if it's out per week.
If you have 2, then you will pay even if for some reason you're on vacation.
Right.
And you don't use both. But that's just the way it is, and it works out over time.
Okay.
David, whenever you see 4 carts over at Jay Bowers' house, know that I heard the truck go by, but I didn't have mine down there, and I carried him across the street. He doesn't have 4 carts. Just so you know.
They called about the anomaly.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe we need to do something because we've been very generous. I mean, we have. Looking at the charts, I mean, if we didn't have the data, I would feel differently, but because we have the data in front of us to compare with the other cities our size, we got to do something. We got to do something.
And I totally agree. What I'm just saying is there's another revenue avenue there that we can look at with the secondary poly carts. If we're having a financial issue,
Aaron just
keeping
said-
up and keeping things in the black, then there's another avenue for revenue that we can look at. That's all I'm saying.
And Aaron said that the additional poly carts is only about 10% of the total revenue.
So it's about $40,000.
And didn't you
Off of the
just start
400,000.
charging for the second poly cart recently?
No, we've been charging
That was the
$5.50.
green thing. The green change. But we've had multi-poly carts for years.
Okay.
Other comments? I'm for raising it more on the second poly cart. Thanks, Scott. That'll work. All right.
Well, that can be handled by a motion.
Okay.
No need to delay. I can fix it.
Okay. Item 3.4, discuss the 2023 CAPER Annual Review Report Card for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Kristen, this is you.
Yes, hi everyone.
This is your first presentation in front
First
of us.
presentation, so for anyone I haven't met, it's nice to meet you. I'm Kristen Day, and I'm our new CDBG coordinator. So I've been really fortunate to get to work already with some of you on our funding commission, and excited to report, they don't grade it like this, but an A on our report card for our CAPER this past year.
An A+, you're being humble.
An A+, mostly, and I do want to start by saying she's obviously not here, but a big thank you to our former CDBG coordinator, Laura Gertie. She's been wonderful in training me the past couple of months at this point, so that A+ is also in large part to her. So for today's update, I'll just be highlighting some of the big measures that were included in our CAPER, and then highlighting the grade marks in our report card from HUD. So big picture, what's a CAPER? It's our Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. And it's an annual report that we put together at the end of a grant period that displays measures, metrics about all the great things that our grant funds did in the previous year. And then this is then turned into HUD, and they review it to make sure that we're in compliance with federal regulations and that the funds are meeting their intended use. So some really exciting highlights from information that was included in our CAPER this past year. 100% of our funds were expended on low and moderate income individuals and or in low to moderate income areas. I won't go through each of the bullet points below, but we also were able to benefit over thousands of individuals across Enid through housing rehabilitation programs, park improvements, and micro enterprise business program too. And then in total, our financial recap is we granted $491,970 across 11 projects for this past year. And then in total, we expended over $700,000. And so that's inclusive of the $491,000 from the grant that we received for last year, and then reclaimed funds from previous grant years, including, I believe, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And so that gets us up to the $762,000. So we turned this report on time into HUD September 27th, and then in turn they review it to make sure that our caps on certain public services and public facility spending is within the regulated cap. And all of that held up to muster. Our goals and outcomes were in compliance with our 5-year consolidated plan. And we also had a satisfactory timeliness ratio. So essentially the rate at which we spent down the funds were good. The rate is anything below a 1.5, and we were at, I think, a 0.73. And then to summarize the report, the City of Enid is satisfactorily managing and administering our program. Are there any questions?
Just a comment, thank you, very good.
Thank you. And a big thank you to all of you, anyone who's in front of me or our citizens who are on our funding commission, and especially our grantees. Those numbers, I didn't want to rush through them, but it's a huge testament to the work that a lot of really great nonprofits in Enid are doing, whether that's ERDA, I don't want to miss any, so I probably shouldn't name them, but ERDA, For Our Kids, Zoe's, Booker T. Washington, and CDSA, especially with our emergency repair program, and many others. So a big thank you to them. They're what helped make us successful.
There are a lot of people benefit from those dollars, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you saw the one number was over $3,000 for individuals who benefited from public facility improvements. So especially our park improvements that we have. I know we just had a special CDBG funding commission meeting that appropriated reclaimed funds for an additional park improvement project. And so those are in low to moderate income areas and really enhance the quality of life for low to moderate income individuals who live in Enid. So it's a great success, and I'm excited to see what we have in store for this current grant year and this upcoming grant year.
Very good.
you.
Thank you. Any comments or concerns? Anybody? Thumbs up. Very good.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Make sure we keep getting A+.
I'll
I
try
didn't
my
get a
best.
lot of those growing up, so.
I'll try my best. Thank you.
Good, thank you. 3.5, update on the city's beautification project, Tiffany.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is your beautification update. It's been a while since we've done this, but everything is pretty much still staying the same. We're still mowing and edging the main entryways of Enid. We are removing signs and trash out of the right-of-ways, sending notices to residential and commercial properties, trying to still keep them aware that we're still trying to keep up with this. We are also doing special projects. This is, some of the pictures are from March to October, because we haven't done this in a while. This is one of the pictures that I have is for a railroad property. I don't know when can hear it. And again, this is just a bunch of pictures showing you all. This is some of the right-of-ways that we mow and trim, giving you an idea of just keeping it nice and pretty, I guess. Here's one, a railroad property on West Randolph that we taken care of. Let's see. We're also helping with easements along the right-of-ways and things like that, trying to make sure that they're taken care of and, you know, I don't know. And here's one of the bigger projects that we did. This is right behind La Mesa. We have mowed and trimmed, and then we also trimmed some trees and stuff away from the fences and things like that. So here is the other part of La Mesa that we did. It's not a great picture, but it still gives you an idea of the trimming of the curbs and things like that that are also helping out. Here's another railroad property that, you know, would not any other way get mowed if we don't help with beautification. These are some of the smaller projects that we do. Most of the roadways and stuff are taken care of, but these are the ones that, like, you're going to drive by and you'll notice, oh, that little area sticks out. So this is one of those. And then here's this one as well. They do a really good job on Garrett for the most part, and then we just take care of some of the smaller ones. We are also enforcing signs, and this is a compliance that we got, and it looks so much better. So this one is a big project that we did, and it took a while, but we got it done. It does look a lot better, and it looks like pretty much ag land now. So this is one that we are working on, one of our special projects that we are trying to help with downtown. They have a lot of derelict vehicles and stuff, and I'm working with the property owner right now to help get them removed. And he is doing pretty well. We're moving and progressing, but there's still some that are there. But all right.
How many did you start out with?
Right now, there's 20 cars left. I do believe that we have moved almost 36 cars because there's 2 properties. So he has gotten rid of a lot from both properties that he has done.
So what's the rule on that? If they don't run, they have to be moved?
Well, he owns. It's kind of a tricky one with him. He did own a towing company, and so he also owned a car lot. He owned a car lot behind there. So it was kind of getting, you know, he tried to say they were for sale. We went through things, but he's working really well with this time, and he's trying to rent out the property. So eventually it should be clear of any derelict vehicles that were there in the first place.
Is there anything we can do to help on ordinances to help with that?
Well, we have a pretty good ordinance for inoperative vehicles and things. It's just, you know, he owned the business, and he had he actually helped with the police department and things at times, and so he had that towing company, and I think he kind of just went under the radar for a while. So, but as of right now, we started this year with $50,000. We did do a couple of big projects and take some things down, but we are now at $22,595. And as far as anything further, it's the same. We're going to keep working on the main corridors and removing signs and special projects as needed. So, is there any questions?
This may be a silly one. Why is the railroad not taking care of their own property?
It's a tough one. We try to get a hold of the railroad. We do have some numbers that we use, but I couldn't really tell you how they don't. But I know that we send notices, but it doesn't get done. Charging them, it's railroad land, so I don't know that charging them is,
I was going to say, can we send them a bill?
I mean, we could try.
We could, but they wouldn't pay. The railroad is a difficult entity. They've been there a long, long time.
Yes.
And
Longer than the state.
They do weed control for their requirements on the beds, but they don't
Yes.
get their whole right-of-way or easement. So for us to make a difference, we're having to.
Correct.
We want to do this, and so now we're not doing it on the whole railroad right-of-way.
No,
right? We only need to
we're
do
not
it where
doing
you see it.
But they do their own intersections and things like that. They do take care of those. But these are just areas that are noticeable, especially downtown or on the corridors or things like that. That one of them is right next to the the Santa Fe right over here behind the building, so. Yeah, we just kind of try to get the ones that are definitely noticeable and that people are, or we get complaints for, so.
A few of those railways, like BNSF, have websites where you can actually log in and you can make a complaint on certain railroad properties. But I'll tell you from my experience, I'm not sure if it was this summer or the summer before, but we did get the railroad to come out and mow and clean up everything from Chestnut moving back to the southwest into downtown. They came and mowed that whole entire area, and they had a lot of trees and debris that our solid waste department came and picked up. But it did take a monumental effort to get that.
Can liens be placed on that property?
No.
We don't even really have a area that you would like send notice to. Like there are some that have like, when you normally would send a notice to a property, it has a specific parcel and it has all that stuff. With railroad, it doesn't have any of that. So it's pretty tough to contact somebody or to get them in there to do that. So.
Are there any areas that you guys see that we need to get? Because now's a good time of the year where it's going to be good for several months after we do it. We're trying to hit all the main corridors. I'm sure there's areas that we've missed. I know the good news on Chestnut and Cleveland that you've hit before.
Yes.
I believe action's happening there. I see some bulldozers, so it's good staging anyway and some dirt work.
Anybody? No?
Well, I tell you what, I think you're doing an amazing job. I feel like we're getting a lot of bang for our buck on that. And
I try to keep it a little low cost, so get as much as we can.
So I do appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 3.6, update on lead and copper rule changes.
Well, David walks up to the microphone. We've talked about this at least once before. I want to talk about it again because we're getting ready to send letters out to folks whose service lines we can't identify. David's going to talk about all that. And so I want to take the opportunity to make sure you're aware of that in the public because it will probably generate some phone calls. But David
Mayor,
will explain
Commission,
all that.
yeah, this is just a update on what was going on that I talked to you about a month and a half ago or so. And this is just what we're doing in response to the regulatory requirements. Everybody in the country has to do this. We completed our initial lead service line inventory by the 17th of October, which was the regulatory requirement. This is just a reminder on the time, kind of the history and the timeline going back to, 100 years ago to Flint, Michigan, which everybody has heard about in the news, to where we are today. This goes into key areas that the lead copper rule just requires. The main thing right now is the lead service line inventory. And essentially that's just trying to find a way to know what the lines that are in the ground going from our main to somebody's house are made of, both on the city-owned side and on the customer-owned side. There are other components of the rule that we have to do. This is the one that is the heavy lift. This is the one that we're concerned with right now. A lot of other things we are actually already dealing with. We're ahead of the curve. This is just where we are. Just a reminder of the understanding of lead service lines in the ground. This is what it looks like. And then obviously we've got a bunch of things that pipe can be made of. But the lead, or what is called galvanized, which is iron pipes that are lined with zinc to keep corrosion down, those are the two things that have a concern with lead. The galvanized is primarily concerned because of the welds at certain points where it connects to the main. Historically, we have seen issues. I do want to reiterate that in checking our water quality, our water is very stable, so that even if we do have lead in the lines, the probability of us seeing lead in the water is very, very low. And I said at the last meeting, we did actually have a resident who had concerns of lead in her water. We tested and we learned that it was not our water that was causing it. It was her softeners and her treatment interior to her house that was actually causing elevated levels of lead. So where are we now? As I said, we've submitted the inventory to the state. And what Gerald talked about is our requirement is if we don't know what your service line is made of, we have to notify you. If we find out that your line is lead or galvanized, we have to let you know. We did do an initial survey of a sample of lines to get an idea of what we have out there. During that survey, we found one that was made of lead. So percentage-wise, we think we are going to see very, very, very low amounts of lead lines out throughout the city. We did see about 16 to 18% of galvanized. So that means there is some galvanized out there that we're going to have to change out over the next 11 years. We do have an online map that we're going to be posting so that if anybody wants to see it, to know their house or whatever, but these letters will actually correspond with what we find. But the letter just essentially says, we did a survey, or by law, we don't know what your line is made of, so until we figure out what it is, we have to continually notify you. And just one thing about that is, next year, if we've replaced 5% of the line, the other percentage that we have not replaced, we'll get a letter, and so on and so forth until all the lines have been replaced. We'll just be continuing interaction, communication with citizens, but we are working with a group called EPA Get the Lead Out. We actually met with them last week. They are going to be providing services on education, communication. They actually will come out to the city during events. They'll have a booth. They'll explain outside of the city what the meaning of the regulation is and what the public health implications are. The other thing that was important about that meeting, we did find out that we are in line for state money of several $million. We're next in line to start that ball rolling on getting service lines actually replaced. And then once again, I said our water quality is very, very stable on several indices, so I don't see a big public health concern with that. And where we're going, just water quality testing. We're testing our lines ongoing. We're working with the state on schools. We've been doing that for the past 2 years, and we've actually tied into a statewide program where they will fund testing of all daycares. We actually sent out form letters to all the daycares, and we've been getting responses back. Actually, the response has been going to the state, and they've been calling us and saying, okay, this person has contacted us, and they've been scheduling the testing. And then, obviously, we will be connecting with Call Lake, and that could change water quality. We've been testing a multitude of parameters on both Call Lake and our groundwater system, and we've kind of been modeling what's going to happen when we start blending those two different water sources. And right now, they look very similar, but we're going to continue testing because lake water does seasonally change. We had all this rain. We're going to be testing to see what this rain and the change in lake levels will do to the water quality and how it will interact with our groundwater. This is just a reiteration of that timeline I told you about. Just note that we have till 2037 to actually do the total change out of all the lines. So as I said in the last meeting, we have time, but we do have to essentially get on it, because things like this have a tendency to catch up on you. The main thing that I want to just point out to the commission is that we will be sending out the letters. They're going to, and we can send out a copy of the letter to the commission just so that they'll have a copy. But residents are going to see it. There may be some confusion. They're probably going to call. They're going to call us. They're going to call Gerald. They're going to call Scott. They're going to call different parts of the city. We just want to make sure that everybody has the same message and is aware. There's not a public health risk, but it is something that we need to make sure. And we will be, in our letter, we'll say, hey, if you have a concern, call us. We'll sample your water just to verify that there's not an issue. And that is something that we're planning on. And with that, are there any questions? The main thing just to be aware of, I expect that there will be calls going out. Just want to make sure everybody's aware.
If somebody went to a medical facility and they found that person had lead poisoning, would somebody contact you to check into that?
I would say no. More than likely, if they go to their health provider or something like that, it's at minimum they're probably going to go to the Garfield County Health Department because that's a direct health issue, and there's a lot of reasons why they could have elevated levels of lead in their body. The situation I talked about last summer, the person did call. Her child did have elevated levels of lead in her body. we checked the water supply to verify that that was not the source. And then we told her, go back to your service provider, contact the health department, and contact people like the CDC to get more information on it. Our job is just to verify that we're not the source.
We're still tweaking that draft letter, but it's pretty close. It may go out as early as later this week, is that right?
Probably next week. Yeah, we'll have to, the financial part of it is the other hiccup. Yes.
So before we send that out, I'll make sure we send you guys a copy of the letter, so you'll be able to know what your constituents might get and talk to you about. It's pretty informative because it tells you right in the letter some things you can do if you
And it
find
has links to
issues.
the EPA and state location where you can find other information on it. So, I mean, and once again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to email or call me directly. And that's when my number is actually on the letter and my email.
David, whenever you presented last time, you'd mentioned that there was one of the samples that was just barely above or below, I guess it'd be above the limited amount. But that house had not been utilized, the water had not been circulated in there for quite some time. Did we ever get, I know you were going to retest
We're working with the state right now to get it
Okay.
invalidated. There were 2 houses, actually.
Okay.
One was for sale, and the real estate agent is the one who actually did the
That's right.
sample. We resampled the other one, and that came out below limits. We were working with the state on both of those because both of those did meet the criteria for a valid sample.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? No?
And
Thank
sir,
you.
Commissioner Orr, I just wanted to say I did go over the information on the carts. I was wrong. We have about 575 total carts. And then of green, we have about 4,000. So about 16% of the total, but a lot more. I was thinking of meters and not carts, so my mind was on a different infrastructure.
So about 28,000 cards plus 4,000 green ones. The green
Yes.
ones, obviously, we don't use
Yes.
anymore unless they call in for the $4.
Right. And I'm working on getting the number of places that have multiple carts, but it's a different calculation, so I need to work on that.
Thank you.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to adjourn until 6:30, and then we'll start our regular scheduled meeting. We are adjourned.